Hello everyone, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Marilyn. If you've been here before, welcome back. Well, October has been a lot, and I'm very happy to come here and bring you a special video. Well, I hope it'll be special. Now, optimization or optimizing your channel is something that's very familiar to YouTubers because we hear it all the time. So what does really optimization mean? And how can I use it in another term beside the YouTube algorithm kind of thing? But I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. So optimization means making the best of situations, opportunities, or resources. And when we talk about it in the way we usually think about it, of optimizing your channel, putting good thumbnails in, good titles, good hashtags, that's supposed to make your channel work. It's supposed to make the algorithm work for you and not against you. Unfortunately, the algorithm has never been kind to me. I must be doing something wrong, even though my partner does the thumbnails and helps me with the editing. It just, yeah, I've been here 4 years. But even though it hasn't helped my channel that much, it has helped my reading. And I really needed this. And that's what I want to talk about because, as I said, I suffer from anxiety, and anxiety is something that affects every part of your life. And at my age, in January, well, not in January, but starting in January will be my 3/4 of a century on Earth. And I don't have the stamina I used to have. For example, today, what did I do? I got up, I had breakfast, I talked to my best friend for an hour and 30 minutes. We caught up. I did a little exercise, and I'm making this video. That's it. So, so that's it. Oh, I did one more thing. I bought some, not today, but I bought some drugstore makeup. So I might look better or I might look worse. You be the judge on that. But as many of you know, I'm going through a lot. My daughter's getting married next week. My other daughter is coming for the wedding, and she hasn't been in Hawaii for almost 20 years. So of course, I'm trying to figure out how to make her have a good time. All the food she's missed, all the experiences and places, and of course the beach because it's getting cold in Minnesota. But also, like I said, I don't have as much energy. So how do I keep up my reading? Because I want to. Not because I have to, but because I want to. So I thought, how can I use the idea of optimization in my reading? And I came up with some ideas, tips and tricks that might help you when you're going through any kind of a slump. So when I said I want to read, I really want to read, but I want to read in a way that's not going to make me more stressed out. I want to read with pleasure. And if you watched one of my last videos, and I'm going to try to have it either up in the cards, plus I'm going to have it down in the description box. The title was How to Read When You Can't Read, or When You Can't Really Read. And this video is sort of getting into the really weeds with that. So I'm going to be more specific than I was in that video. Okay, so I'm going to look at my notes real quick. So here I'm using the optimization metaphor to show you how I optimized my reading in October. Now, October, we have a lot of things going on Booktube. We have the biggest thing was Victober, and I'll get to that. But we have a lot of things that are going on that I wanted to be part of. But I realized that if I did that, I wouldn't be able to actually read. And that's what I like. And that's why I'm here. So the first thing, before I even go into the numbered optimization issues, I want to say that, first of all, have patience with yourself. Or I hopefully we know ourselves, and we know what we can handle and what we can't handle. And that's the number one. Don't beat up on yourself. No, don't should on yourself. And I've done that a lot during my life. So I try to be patient. Okay, I'm not going to make as many videos as I usually make, but the ones that I make, I hope that they have some value in them. So that's the first thing, is patience. Have patience with yourself. Now, the second thing is time. Time, it seems to go faster when you get older for some reason. But so like I said, the days are over when I can do 20 things in a day and then stay out dancing all night. Those days aren't going to happen. I read at night. And I know a lot of booktubers, especially booktubers who are on the mature side, tend to get up early in the morning. And that's their sacred time. That's their time that they read. That's the time that they pray. That's the time that they're quiet. But I live in a neighborhood in Hawaii where mornings are really busy. There's animals out, there's the crows crowing, there's birds, there's people getting ready for work. I mean, you name it, the mornings are not quiet in Hawaii. Just really quick, one reason is because we don't have the land, so our houses are very close to each other. And that's not a bad thing, but it's a thing. So the nights are my time. I'm a night person, I'm a night owl, and I do my reading at night. So know yourself, know when you can read, know when it's going to be a good time for you to read. In the time, going along with the time situation, is sometimes this month in October, I couldn't really read 4 chapters at a time. So I gave myself a chapter. I'll read a chapter of one book. If it gets too much, I'll either read another book's chapter, or I'll say, that's it. And that's one of my tricks and tips, is just to read a chapter. And most of the books that I've read, the chapters have been very small. Short, I should say. Another thing that has to do with time is, it's Victober. So a lot of the Victorian books out there that I wanted to read, I'm thinking of Anthony Trollope, for example, or Charles Dickens, are pretty bloated. I mean, they used to make money on installments and get paid by the word. So a lot of these books have excess that make it hard for me to read a book. But for Victober, I did get into one book. It's a reread for me, and it's a really new copy for me. And it's Elizabeth Gaskell's Cranford. Beautiful copy. And a subscriber is going to send it to me, a very lovely person who I met through this medium, sends me Kindle books sometimes, which are easier for me to read, even though this is not a very long book, and it's also pretty well spaced out. The font is pretty well. I know I'm going to be able to read it, and I've already read a few chapters. But you know what stopped me? And now we're going to go off of the optimization for a minute and talk about that a lot of the books that I read were really anti-woman. Anti-woman in the sense that, and a little ageist too, one in particular. But yeah, we're talking about a time, the Victorian period, where women had their place. We don't want to be put in our place, but now. But when I read about it, even though this is a very cozy type of Victorian novel, I got a little depressed, and I wasn't able to read the whole thing right away. Yes, it's cute, and it's cozy. It's a cozy book. Elizabeth Gaskell, I only read one other book from her, which was North and South, and I did not love it as much as other people did on Booktube. However, I like this book better. I don't know if I like this book better. It's a totally different kind of book. In case you don't know, and I talked about it before, a portrait of the residents of an English country town in the mid-19th century, and basically mostly women live there. And they have a quote here. "It's very pleasant dining with a bachelor. I only hope it's not improper, as many pleasant things are." That I like. I like the jokiness of it. I like the characters. But just the thought that, I mean, it's a good thought that here are women together who are sort of managing a town, and sort of, you know, they have little quips about how men are not necessary in their town. That part is good, but still, they're very proper in their, they're not rich, you know, but they still want to keep everything proper. And being an improper woman myself, that annoyed me a little bit. I don't know if anybody has read Cranford, let me know. Okay, now getting back to the optimization, another thing I did was cut down on tags. Now I love tags, and lately we have had the most wonderful tags that I've seen almost like in 4 years of Booktube. So I did get tagged. I don't get tagged a whole bunch, but I did get tagged twice. And I really, really wanted to do the tag. But I said, if I do the tag, I won't be able to do this video, for example, that I had in my mind for quite a while, this whole month, that has been so weird for me. So another thing I did was cut down on tags. The next thing I did was DNF. I DNF'd so many books. But I also read so many books. Now, if you've kept in touch with my channel, you know that I've been reading a lot of nonfiction. And here, Nonfiction November is coming up so soon. And I do have a special nonfiction book that I'm not going to talk about right now. But it was sent to me by a publisher. And I started already. I don't want to talk about it yet, but I'm going to talk about it very soon, right after the wedding. In early November. But yeah, so I've been reading, as you know, nonfiction books. So, but I've been in the beginning of the month, I DNF'd like wild. I mean, I was DNFing everything that usually was literary fiction. That was hard for me to get to. It was hard for me to read at that moment in time. But as I got to the end of the month, I started feeling that I could tackle those books that were more literary. And I'll talk about that in a moment. First, I want to talk about what really worked for me. And like I said, I changed the genre to something that was easy for me, which was nonfiction. And I'm going to talk about a little of the more about my favorite nonfiction that I read this month. I must have read like 30 books this month, which is very unusual for me. But like I said, DNFing nonfiction, reading something that I was used to reading, because I was a big nonfiction reader. So I did that. And my favorite book, I thought I should just mention it because it was one of the last books that I read. And about, you know, all the organizing and minimalism, you're probably sick of it already. But one of the favorite books that I read, beside another one, and this book, I really wish I can get this book. Don't you love these? I don't like excuse me, bookmarks. And this, I love ribbons. Ribbons are wonderful. And I was wondering, I wonder if I can put a ribbon in every book I have, because that is a way that you can keep a beautiful book. And let me just show it to you. Organizing for the Rest of Us by Dana K. White, author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. And with all these, she goes against all of the decluttering books that I read. For example, they all say, take everything out of your closet, and that's the only way it'll work. She said she doesn't go for that. She only takes one thing, not to make a bigger mess than you already made. And also about containers, that containers are meant to contain things. And once they get out of, for example, I have a big container of pens, and I don't even know how I got them, but there's a second one. And I said, well, I told my partner, I said, if this container can only contain that much, this book says that should tell you that's all you should have of that particular item. And that really helped a lot. It really did. And she's really great. And she also talks about cleaning. So I really recommend this book, as well as a book that I talked about before by, and I won't even go into it except to say Francine Jay, Lightly. This is her second book, and it's more how to live a simple, serene, and stress-free life. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I will tell you another way that I optimize my reading is I changed genres. But then I changed again, and I talked about this in my other video, where I changed from, okay, after decluttering, what comes? Decorating, and then what comes after decorating? Maybe gardening, what comes after gardening? Cooking. I mean, I did it all. But then when things got really tough, I went really off my usual type of reading. I read a middle grade, and I loved it. And the book is The Babysitter's Club, and this is the first one, and it's Christie's Great Idea. It's a Scholastic publisher, Anne M. Martin. This, I don't know why I kept this in here, because I finished it. And yeah, it was written in the 80s. I don't know why my children said they missed it. They heard of it, but they were into Sweet Valley High. They weren't into The Babysitter's Club. And I just, found out, and I want to give a shout out to Sarah Phalen, the bookish knitter. She recently had a heart transplant, and so far she's doing really well, and I wish her the best. So if I'll have her channel down below. Just if you're not already subscribed to her, she's such a wonderful person. So she gave me, and other people, but I read this in her honor because this is a book that she really recommends, and I liked it. And yeah, I knew what was coming. The little surprises were not really that hard to get, but it was very peaceful and easy because it's a middle grade, and I was able to feel successful, that I was able to finish something when some of the other books at that time I wasn't able to finish. And I think I started reading middle grade, and I wouldn't call it young adult. I'm not sure what it's called, but I talked about Nilda, and I'm keeping this book by Nicholasa Mohr. And that got me into really reading about New York and Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans living in New York. There's a picture of her. She's still alive. She's like in her 80s. And she wrote a book about a young girl who lives in New York, was born in New York, but her family was born in Puerto Rico. And this is during the 40s. Now, my father came from Puerto Rico in 1949 or 50. Well, I was, 49. I had to be 49 at least, or 48. But this is even earlier than that. And, it was such an interesting book. And I think I told you that Raul Miranda said this book wrote In the Heights and Hamilton. And if it inspired him, it inspired me also. But I didn't read that this month because this is a little bit of a lengthier book. But yeah, change the genre. That's one thing that that worked for me, changing the genre of the books that I couldn't get to. Okay, now, another trick I found is to read, and this is an Agatha Christie, and I talked about this, The Last Seance, which was kind of a spooky book, but it's short stories, and the stories are not interconnected. So when you finish one, you don't have to feel like, oh, maybe I should read the next one because it's interconnected. I read 2 stories, and they were okay. Not my favorite, but then I'm not into spooky novels. Let me just show it to you. It's so it just says, from the Queen of Mystery, an all-new collection of Agatha Christie's spookiest and most sinister stories. And I read some of these before because they were in other collections. And I think I told you about this the last time. It was $2.19. It was, and it has one story that was never published in the United States before, in case that's something that you want to do for Halloween. My daughter went to a Halloween Zumba party yesterday and brought some treats home. So yeah, Halloween is coming. Now, the last way that I was able to finally get into more complex books was doing what I call adding something to it. So if I had a book that was a little hard for whatever reason, I would get an annotated version of that book to help me. I would have a dictionary to help me, and I would Google. So I would call that like, okay, I am a good reader. I was a teacher, not of reading. Well, I was it's called TEFL, Teaching English as a Foreign Language. You don't need, you need a college degree and you need a certificate, but it wasn't like I was an English teacher, but I was teaching people how to speak English, people from other countries. And then when I came back to Hawaii, I taught ESL, which is English as a Second Language, and they're not alike. They're really different things. So I'm not a slow reader in the sense that my vocabulary is not high, but I'm a slow reader in the sense that I have issues. I have eye issues. Sometimes I don't understand, maybe my education wasn't as, because I came from a school that was not in a good neighborhood. So I really learned everything about, well, not reading. I mean, my mother taught me how to read, but I learned about history, geography at a later age. And sometimes I'm still learning. I feel like I'm still learning. And maybe that's why I still got my brains at this age. But I can use an annotated version. I don't feel that that's a bad thing. I could do Kindle version and audio, though I don't do much audio, and I don't know why, because I just got an Audible subscription and I'm hardly using it. I guess because I don't go anywhere or going to work, something like that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong and nothing shameful about saying that you have to look up a word, you have to look up a sonnet or some kind of author from the 1800s that you never heard of, or a word that is based on French or based on German that you've never heard of. Though I have to say that my vocabulary has way improved since I joined Booktube, and I was always known to have a good vocabulary. But still, you keep on learning, and there's nothing wrong about getting extra help when you're reading. And that helped me a lot to get through a book. And I'm going to do, not today, of course, But I did finish a book, The Clocks by Agatha Christie, and I loved it so much, I wanted to do a review on it, which is coming soon. I know a lot of people don't like this book, so I'm going to do a response book review of all the people that don't like this book, because I loved it. Not everybody, I mean, I found people, booktubers, who love this book. Okay, so what else did I finish? I finished just one other book, and that is Muriel Spark, my nemesis. I can't say that I've only liked one book that she wrote, A Far Cry from Kensington, which was suggested in the Book Lust book. I'll have the author below. But this book, okay, Memento Mori. This book is out there. It's a satire. It deals with old people who are getting a telephone call saying, know that you're going to die, or something like that. And a lot of them are really mean people. They were mean all their lives, not all of them. But this was written in the 50s, where before ageism was a thing. So if you're old, there's a lot of death in this book. I'll just say that. Let me just tell you what it's about. In late 1950s London, something uncanny besets a group of elderly friends. A voice on the telephone informs each, remember, you must die. And their geriatric feathers are soon thoroughly ruffled by these perhaps supernatural phone calls, and the resulting flurry, many old secrets are dusted off. There's a lot going on in this book. I read it, though. I was able to read it. The ending is not going to make you happy. The whole book is not going to make you happy. But something about the writing, I said, this can't be happening. This can't be true. Don't treat these old people like that. So, yeah, if you're feeling, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it, so then it must be good. But I have to say that Muriel Spark is not for me. This book has gotten so many good reviews. Tennessee Williams said, a marvelously witty English writer. Her best, I think, is Memento Mori, which is chillingly brilliant. I have to say that it was pretty brilliantly written, though I didn't really like the subject matter. And I heard of V.S. Naipaul, though I haven't read him. He said that it's brilliant and easy economical narrative, which might be the reason why I was able to read it. And well, a lot of other people really have praised this book. And if you don't know Muriel Spark, she wrote The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which I saw the movie, liked it, didn't like the book as much as the movie. So, there you go. I like 1.5 books of Muriel Spark. But getting back to the why I was talking about optimization. We get a lot on Booktube about how to optimize our channel, and we can get pretty depressed about it. At least, if you really watch all these videos, you got to do this and you got to do that. But really, this is what I believe. I believe that having a lot of having the algorithm work for you is a matter of kind of luck, and either it's going to happen for you or it's not. And I wouldn't get too worried about, optimizing your channel. I would say optimize the quality of your videos, which I'm trying to do, or optimize your reading, which is why we're here. We're here because we love books, we love the community, and the community is everything for me beside the reading. And I want to optimize my reading so I don't feel that I'm failing. I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail at Booktube. I don't want to fail at reading. How can you fail at Booktube? You really can't fail at Booktube. But while I was going through all of this, I was thinking of, I'm a failure because I can't read. And if I can't read, how can I be a booktuber? Maybe I should quit. But then I thought, I can do Booktube the way, as much as I can. And I hope that you enjoy it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it, because I don't think we should let a slump get us down. So I hope you will give me a like if you liked it, and comment, say hi in the comments, and please subscribe. And until the next time that I see you, whether it be a week or 2 weeks, I just wish you everything wonderful in the world, everything your heart desires. And until then, aloha oi.